Yes, children, welcome back. In the previous, we discussed about the scribes. Okay, in the medieval period, the scribes started to copy the manuscripts. That is the major sources for the historians. Okay, yes, here they given the examples in your book. What means Ziauddin Barani, who lived in the 12th century to 13th century. Here, on occasions, author revised their chronicles at different times. Ziauddin Barani wrote his chronicle in 1356. Okay, he itself wrote a chronicle 1356. In that year, he wrote, and the same person wrote another version of the same book after 2 years. His another version of the same chronicle he wrote 2 years later. Okay, do you understand? Yes, the two differ from each other, but historians did not know about the existence of the first version until the 1960. Do you understand, children? The historians got the second version, so they understood what he said in that book. But at last, in 1960, they got the another version. That was he written at very first in the 1356. Okay, totally both was different. But the same person itself wrote, written the book. Okay, like this. The same person written the same book having lot of differentiation. In that time, in the medieval period, the historians used how we know about the medieval periods, the historians read these things as, in those days, the textual records were increased in medieval periods. Why the textual records were increased? Because the papers available very cheaper to the people, apparently to the people. Okay, so next one, we know about the Ziauddin Barani. It remained lost in large library collections. Yes, next. Yes, children, you see here. Name some sources that gave information about our past. What are that? That is coins, inscriptions, manuscripts, textual records, everything. Okay? Then, what are archives? The place where the historical documents and manuscripts were stored. Then, what are manuscripts? Manuscripts is the handwritten document, handwritten especially on the palm leaves or barks of the beech trees. Okay, it is a written document, especially on the palm leaves, handwritten. Okay, manu means hand in the Latin word. Manu means hand. Who collected the manuscript in those days? The kings, queens, and rich people who collected the manuscripts, and they kept it at the library and archives. Manuscripts were copied by scribes. Okay, name the paintings that were used in manuscripts. That question I given in red color. You go through your book, page number 5. They give the information about the paintings which was in the medieval period, present in the manuscript. Okay, so you go through it and you give the answers to me through WhatsApp. Okay, children, till this we can revise again one time. Today I am taking only the historians and their sources. Normally we know the histories from the historians, what they said in the book. Okay, from the sources they know the past. That depending upon their studies and the level of their investigation. Okay, so what are the things they used? The coins, inscriptions, manuscripts, textual records. In the medieval period, the textual records dramatically increased. Why means in this period, people started to use the paper. For what purpose they used the paper? To write the text, religious text, documents, judicial records, petitions, a lot of things, letters, everything they started to write in the papers. So they copied. that time when they started to copy from manuscript to paper, there was a lot of mess and confusion, because the scribes, at the time of they copied, they may left a word or they may added a sentence. So it would give a confuse to the historians. For example, they given the Ziauddin Barani's history, because he itself wrote the chronicle in two different times. In that one, it have lot of differentiation. Okay, children. So through this, we going to learn the medieval history from the historians and their sources. Then a recap about the previous sessions. The Indian history is divided into classified in ancient, medieval, and modern history. The history we will be studying in the class 7 is medieval period of India. Yes, here they given in two different types of map. Map 1 and map 2. Map 1 in the 11th century drawn by a Arab cartographer Al-Idrisi, and then another map 2 is drawn by the French cartographer. Okay, both the same are India, South India, but here you are seeing the South India shown like this, but in the map 1 they are showing like this. It is inverted. The Sri Lanka came in the north direction, so it's not wrong. According to that person, he drawn the map in that way in that period. Next, yes, this was the first map was by the Arab geographer Al-Idrisi. It was made in 11th century, 1154, the Christian era. In this map, South India is where we would expect to find North India. Sri Lanka is an island at the top of India. The names of places are marked in Arabic, and there are some popular places in Uttar Pradesh like Kannauj is mentioned. Then the second map. It was made by a French cartographer, a person who makes map. That is cartographer definition, a person who makes the map. It was drawn in the 17th century, 600 years later from the first map. This map is more familiar to us. Which map is more familiar to us? The second map. Okay, why it was more familiar to us? Because it shows the character. Now what we are using. Okay, so it was more familiar to us. We know that map drawn by Al-Idrisi. That was very different what we are using now. It was used by the European sailors and merchants on their voyages. Which map they are used at the time of voyages? The Europeans. Map 1 or map 2? Map 2. Okay. Map 2 only used by the European sailors at their time of voyages. Then new and old terminologies. Here they are saying what means how to understand about the history. Some in the different times they used the same word in different meaning. So one should need more sensitive, more knowledge to understand what they said in this period, in the word. What meaning in the word, this word given in this period. Okay. Yes, here Hindustan. New and old terminologies. The information changes over a period of time. In terms of context in which it is produced. In terms of meaning and languages, for instance, medieval Persian is different from modern Persian. Both were reference to grammar, vocabulary and meanings. Okay, here the term Hindustan is interpreted differently. Okay, present context. Today, the term, if this term refers to India. If we are saying Hindustan means what? India. Okay, our country. In 13th century, how they used the word Hindustan? Mihajai Siraj, a chronicler, saying, in geographical sense, the areas of Punjab, Haryana and the lands between Ganga and Narmada called what? Hindustan. Okay, it is in the geographical. In the political sense, what Hindustan? The land that were a part of the dominions of the Delhi Sultan. That means under their control. It is dominated by the Sultan in those days, in that period. So the dominions of the Delhi Sultan were referred to Hindustan. So what the political sense, if they are writing notes on those on that time, means they are giving Hindustan. Okay. Next, 16th century. This term was used by Babur to describe the geography, culture, and fauna of the inhabitants of the subcontinent. In the 16th century, Babur used the same word Hindustan. For what purpose he used it? He described the geography, fauna, culture and inhabitants of the continent, subcontinent, that is our country, India. Okay, if in Babur notes or at the time of Babur, who had written the notes, if they mentioned Hindustan, that is, we can take it in our geography, or they can in the culture, fauna and inhabitants. All these mentioned in one word, that is Hindustan. Then in 14th century, the term Hind used in this period by the poet Amir Khusro. Okay, later after 14th century, he used Amir Khusro, a poet. He used what means Hind, that also Hindustan, geography, culture and fauna. Why? The idea of a geographical and cultural entity like India did exist. The term Hindustan did not carry the political and national meaning which we associate with it today. Okay, children? We associate for Hindustan now different meaning, but it is not. In Babur period, Hindustan means wherever, if they mentioned in some places the Hindustan means, we should take that as a geography. In some places, it is a culture. Okay, so the Hindustan word giving this many meanings. So person by person, the meaning of this word is different, but they use the same word. So that is called new and old terminologies. The historians need so sensitive to understand in the 16th century. So if they give any geographical word, that is Hindustan, like that, they should understand. Yes, children. Then next, meanings for foreigner. Okay, who is called foreigner now? I already told. The person who is not an Indian citizen, they were called foreigner. Okay, the persons who came from out of our country, they are called foreigner. But in the olden days, listen here, present context. In the present times, the term foreigner means a person who is not an Indian. In medieval period, the foreigners mean. In this period, the term foreigner means a stranger who appeared in a given village. That is, a person who was not a part of that society or culture. They were called a foreigner. If they come out of their village, they were called foreigner. Out of their society, they were not part of one person's society, they were called foreigner. If they are not a part of their culture, they were called foreigner. Thus, a city dweller would consider a forest dweller as foreigner. Before we saw the term, words, understood the different context, words also, text also. Yes, here they given a word mentioned in the Persian language, Ajnabi. Okay, Ajnabi means what? Foreigner. The same word in Hindi, Pardesi. That means also foreigner. So Ajnabi and Pardesi is in different language, but given the same meaning, that's foreigner. Okay, children, do you understand the foreigner? Yes. So today's session was, only the historians, how the historians collected the historical sources about the medieval period. In those times only, a lot of textual records increased due to the invention and usage of the paper. Okay, that thing and also we know about the scribes. The persons copied the manuscripts to the paper. Okay, these things we learned today. Go through your textbook, and if you have any doubt, you ask me through WhatsApp. I am ready to give your answers. Okay, children, please go through it, and I given one questions to you. Go through page number 5 in your textbook and give the answer to me, dear. Take care. Read well. Thank you, dear. Take care.